We are in this series called Talking It Out. And for the sake of what we're talking about is we're going to talk about, and we might even do this series in a different form in the future, but we're going to take a topic in the Bible that maybe is confused, or maybe we just need some clarity on what this actually means, and we're going to talk it out. My hope is someday that these notes that we're talking about today would turn into a book. I've been thinking about this. Honestly, the stuff we're talking about, I think, will be the mark of my ministry career as a pastor, and I hope it is. And what we're talking out is the topic of grace. And we've probably, as those who have been with us already in the last 3 weeks, today is the fourth week. I want to encourage you to go back and podcast or YouTube and watch or listen to our previous messages because I think they're good. And I don't know, I'm biased, I guess. But we're talking about this large topic of grace and how it's been used properly and used improperly. That we have gotten it right and we have gotten it wrong. And what's cool is God has grace for us when we get it wrong. And so how do we actually do this? Well, we do then from this message, and I keep wanting to encourage everybody to do this because our Thursday group has gotten a little small, okay? And I would like to see some peer pressure right here from the pulpit. I would love to see you guys because I don't want to be the only one talking it out. I want you to also. And so we ask some hard questions. Sometimes I play a little bit of the devil's advocate. Do we really believe the thing that we just said? Do we really follow that? And so we've been working on this definition of grace from the perspective of God and the Bible, which is the story of God. It's not the story of me. It's not the story of you. It's the story of God, and we are a part of it. We are on this journey with him. And here's our working definition of grace: grace is God's deep love for us, seen through acts of undeserved mercy and unreasonable forgiveness. Undeserved mercy and unreasonable forgiveness. Last week, we opened up this idea of what's called the grace path. And this is kind of our working template. And this is what we call the grace path right here. It's mercy, forgiveness, and then grace. Now, most of us, what we do is we just kind of use grace as the blanket statement of all of it. And we can get to that point. But have we walked through the path of mercy and then forgiveness to get to grace? Whether that's for yourself, whether that's somebody needs to give it to you, or you need to give it to someone else. This is the path that we're on. Could you hand me my coffee? I'm already dry mouth, and coffee's not going to help, but is what I got. No, I am good. Thank you. I appreciate that. Again, not a passive statement, just a fact. So the core of this is we started last week talking about mercy, and mercy being the first step of the grace path. That in order to even get to the full idea of grace, you got to start at mercy. Right, you have to start it. So we opened up, and then today we're going to kind of wrap up the circle of mercy, and then next week we'll start forgiveness, which is going to be great. And because if you thought mercy was interesting, just wait till forgiveness. But to model a little bit of the grace path, if you zoomed in on the mercy circle, you would see more circles of the different steps, and it would look like this. The first one, the first step, again, inside out. That's how the kingdom works. It's not outside in. That's how culture works. That's how the rest of the world works, right? Marketing is outside in. Social media, outside in. Politics, outside in. Opinions, outside in, because you grew up with it. It was how you were parented. Outside. Kingdom, inside out. It's what's happening in here. It says the power of life and death is in the tongue, and from the tongue, the mouth speaks. From inside your heart is what comes out. And so we started last week with this first word, leniency, or withholding punishment. Okay, we talked about this ranges from the inconveniences, like the inconsequential, the little inconveniences of life, like somebody cuts you off in traffic, or I got a weird spelling name. It's Aeric. So when I go to Starbucks or anywhere and they say, "What's your name?" they spell it wrong every time. Because I don't want to be, okay, maybe this is you, and great, love your name, but I don't care enough about my name, but I used to. I used to get so offended, which is like, it's Aeric, and then I had to realize I'm the weird one. Because my parents named me that. They initiated my weirdness at birth. And it's rude. I never stood a chance. I could have been an NFL football star, but no, I had to be named Eric. That was my only boundary, okay? And and listen, this is for the audio users, okay? Like they don't know, so you got to stop your laughing and go, "Good word, Pastor," and say it loud enough that it picks up on the microphone. But leniency, this word lenient, maybe you've used it, maybe you haven't used it. A little bit of an old word, comes from the 1600s, where it was actually the way you would use it was, I'm going to apply lenient on you. It's a soothing balm. Think like if you have dry, cracked skin, what is the solution to getting it on? To getting a lotion, okay? Like that's lenient. You are putting lenient on you. So the first step of mercy is applying a soothing balm on yourself, which is, I am not going to punish someone who has done something wrong to me. And like I said, we got the small inconveniences, like the misspelling of names, but then we have the large topics that might have just run through your head as I said that. Well, Pastor Eric, does that really apply to the person who physically, emotionally, spiritually hurt me? Yes. And this is the difficult part that we're going to start continuing to go through, because what we then look at is the next step of how do we then process, not just from the fact that we're not going to punish somebody. For those who, again, I don't want to recap the whole message, but I want to encourage you to go back and listen. Maybe some of your version of withholding punishment is you just don't get me. Right? Somebody hurts you, and the consequence of them hurting you is you just don't get my presence. You don't get my attention. You don't deserve it anymore. I believe that's fine. That's good. That I actually believe it's a step of the next process, which is compassion. To look at somebody and go, you know what? If I were to interact with you, I would only hurt you or myself. So as an act of leniency and then compassion, I'm going to remove myself. I think that's healthy, by the way. That's called a boundary. And those are good to have. The hard part is when we only live here and we never actually experience grace, which is again, we're only 2 steps into the first step. And most of the people, if you said, "Hey, are you talking to Karen anymore?" and you'd be like, "No, Karen insulted me, so I just don't talk to her anymore, and so I'm giving her a little grace." You're actually right. You're giving her a little grace, but not grace. Are you hearing what I'm saying here? Okay, so we're gonna do one more step here. I hope you guys are with me. James chapter 2, verse 13. He's a New Testament writer and pastor, and he talks about our desire to make things right. And he says this in James 2:13, "There will be no mercy for those who have not shown mercy to others. But if you have been merciful, God will be merciful when he judges you." This is good, and at minimum, you should show mercy just because God does it. Like flat ground right here. We were talking in our group this week with Emily and Aaron, and I said, the reason I don't cheat on my wife is not because like a good husband doesn't cheat on their spouse. Now that's the bare minimum, right? That's what my title should mean. That's what the papers from the government said, that to maintain. Then my faith would just say it would be a sin to do this against her, against God, against myself. Bare minimum. The reality is the reason I don't cheat on my wife is because I love her. So that informs every work after that. So I'm using an extreme example because a lot of us have felt this this tension in relationships. So walk with me. Maybe you can apply this to a friendship or an actual situation that you were in. If she hurts my feelings, even like to maybe some of the man dude feelings, like I don't feel respected, right? And I feel insulted for that. What I have to do is withhold punishment, which is to do something to make you feel bad as I feel, right? Instead, what I can do is maybe what did I do to make her react that way? Or what is going on in her life that's how she reacted to me? Now that's compassion. That's important. That's a very essential spot. And to not punish her is not just simply withholding justice here. St. Faustina, a Catholic nun, said, "If you do not pass the entrance of mercy, you will walk into the wilderness of justice. This wilderness is a lonely place that we choose to stay in. In an effort to make things right, we ourselves are more hurt than ever before." And God's solution to our sense of justice is that next step, compassion, to show love instead of defending yourself so quickly. So then what do I do after that? Do I simply just stay silent? Because then this is a lot of what we have. Oh, my server was kind of a jerk at Applebee's. Maybe you guys have said this before. I don't know what their day has been like. So I'm not going to, and maybe this is the house you grew up in, I'm not going to withhold a tip in a way to punish them for their bad serving. But some of us, that's what we grew, and we're like, no, you give me good service, this is the exchange of resources, it's black and white, and this is what it is. No, be compassionate and kind. This person's paid $2.13 an hour. Tip them, okay? And I hear, oh, geez, stupid tangents. If you are struggling to be able to afford to tip somebody, go to a price-downed restaurant, okay? And that's okay. It's about the experience, not the food. You can have bad food with good people, and it's the best time. And so anyways, okay. Let's be a community, a church community that is generous, and then in right sizes our own selves. Anyway, geez. Okay. So part of this next step we're going to talk about, you guys have seen it in the circle right here, is surrendering to what God did. James, as he was leading us, called us to lift our hands. And this is an act of surrender to God. God, whatever I came in here with, I'm letting it go. This is yours. And in this is our internal work that we're walking through this last step of mercy, which is mercy in action. It's not just an inside thing and it stays there. We're now going to talk about how it goes out, how it's going to start moving and doing something. In his book, Ministry of Mercy, author Timothy Keller writes that the actions of mercy are the ministry that the people of God are supposed to do. That we're supposed to put mercy into action. A lot of people do not, but today is how do we do this? And God sending Jesus is mercy in action. Jesus teaching and healing ministry are actions of mercy. Jesus feeding the hungry and providing care for the outcasts of society is mercy in action. Jesus sending the disciples in the Great Commission in Matthew 28 is an action of mercy. There's a movement. There's something being done with what is happening inside of you. And so walk that path. Go, teach, disciple, make, give, serve. These are the actions of mercy. And so Timothy Keller in this book explains that this kind of ministry looks like this: meeting felt needs through deeds. Catchy. Meeting felt needs through deeds. So felt needs are the desires or the needs a person has to alleviate a circumstance in their life. Good and bad, by the way. When you're on vacation and you get hungry, right? A felt need is I'm hungry. Let's go get food, okay? It's as simple as that to the topics of what we're going to talk about today. It looks different for different people at different times, so that's super clear. And to help clarify a little bit, we have Timothy Keller gives certain categories just to start kind of placing it in your head a little bit. So I'm going to read off these categories and then see if just something pops up of maybe a current felt need of yours. I don't need you to think about anyone else. Think about your current felt needs in these categories right here. So spiritual needs, moral needs, social needs, emotional needs, cognitive, like headspace needs, mental health needs, or physical needs. Okay, so these are our main categories of the needs that we feel in life. And when one or more, so it only really takes one of these felt needs to feel the tension in life. Often, we are feeling a lot of these, right? Like, I'm never very happy, Mario, when this is happening, but when I can run down the list and go, got it. Yeah, I got all those needs like right now. It means that I'm really feeling that extra tension of life. Anyone else with me today? Like, okay, so we are here. We are all here, all of creation. We all have these needs. And even the people that we would look at their life on Instagram or Facebook or TikTok or whatever the social media, and they're highlighting their best life, and we go, well, if I had the money, I wouldn't have this need. Maybe, but you don't know what their need is. You don't know what that is. And so this is mercy. This is the work that we're going to go on together. So what we do, many of our felt needs are these internal struggles, and those who love us can only do so much to alleviate that internal struggle. If you are depressed, I can do my best to tell you how I got out of it, or to like, I don't know, just like sit for a little bit maybe. But even then, I gotta go eventually. So there is a part where it's like your internal felt need is your responsibility ultimately. Now, here's what God has called his people to do, is to lift the outside things that we can do so that the inside work is easier to do. Are you hearing what I'm saying right now? So I may not, outside, even if I can, it's momentary, help see the positives of life, that the situation you're going through, you're not alone, and there is a path, and you're doing better than you think, and all this stuff. That's like, and that's necessary, that's good. But now you still have to decide what to do with that. There is still that internal thing. But then my follow-up step as someone who follows Jesus, and at the end of a lot of conversations I have with people, is, what can I do for you that would make this easier to work on? Now, this is mercy in action. There is nothing out, and you could go, oh, like the friendship obligation or the family obligation. Well, it's pretty clear in our world today that nobody feels an obligation to anybody right now, like family or otherwise. Like, and so it is not a given that because you have a kid that your family's going to step up and help you raise them. It's not. It used to be, because grandma used to live in the basement. But now we don't want to be honest, we don't want grandma in the basement because she's a little racist. Like I don't need my kids around that. Like, I grew up with that. It's changed. Like this world. And so now we have to be active in our communication to people. It is not assumed or obligated. It should be, but it's not. We talked about these gray areas, Joy, right? That there's these things that are supposed to be black and white, and it's not. It's supposed to be clear. And it's just blech. So when you're going through something, you kind of don't even want to tell anybody because you don't want them to let you down. And it's better to stay silent than lose a friend. But were they ever a friend? If you don't let people provide mercy to you, to step up, if you don't do that for other people, I don't know. Okay, we're going to keep going. So God equips us who are on the active pursuit of the grace path to provide mercy in action. You have the great honor of being the hands and feet and voice of Jesus. So while we may not be able to alleviate that depression, we can still serve them. We could still be the hands of Jesus. Besides our close relationship, which are the easiest people to provide mercy to, we are called to put mercy into action for many other people we do not have that connection to. And good news, we have a lot of examples of people who need help. And the Bible gives us very clear examples of who we can help, and it would have the most impact. Okay? There's a lot you can do. What is going to be the most effective, right? What is going to do? The answer ultimately is what you feel called to do. That is the most effective thing. If you don't know what you're called to do, let's do what the Bible has commanded us. Let me give you examples here. So here's groups of people that are maybe far away from our relational circles or within us that God asks us to show mercy to. The poor, and I got some scriptures to be able to kind of partner with it. The disadvantaged, the elderly, the disabled, the single parent, the prisoner, the sick, disaster victims, and immigrants or refugees. It's an interchangeable word within the Bible right there. So those who are forced to leave their homes or those who are choosing to be in a new culture and need to be acclimated to it. The Bible doesn't differentiate those two. So this is what we are called to do. This is mercy in action. If you're ever like, man, I'm feeling a little selfish right now, I feel like I'm serving all my own needs, go help one of these. And the easiest that the Bible actually calls us to, we see this both Old Testament and New Testament, and we see it in the book of Leviticus gives us some very specific examples, and later on Paul talks to a pastor in Timothy, and he says, our first call is to your immediate family. If someone is in need in your family, God is looking to you first to help them, and then if you won't do it, he'll send someone else. Like, that's his plan. That's why he put you in this family. We got messy families now, right? Gray areas. Well, where does it start? Do we wait for mom and dad to do it? Do we wait for our kids to learn a lesson and then give it to us because we never got it? Or can it start with us? It doesn't mean everybody's going to change around us, but that's not the point of mercy in action. That's not the point of the grace path, is to control someone else. That's called manipulating. That's called gaslighting if you're doing it for your own needs. Instead, I'm just doing it because I've been given mercy. And in the future or right now, I want mercy. I want help. So I will help you. That's not a selfish statement. That's a community statement. You can say that in this room and you're not selfish. And if someone can't provide that need immediately, they're not selfish. We're all just working together. We're doing things. We're bringing this together. So mercy in action comes with this incredible responsibility to carry that responsibility well. To circle back for our moment in the second step of mercy, compassion, we have to resist the urge to evaluate who gets to receive mercy. The Bible doesn't differentiate between suffering done by others or done by your choices, by yourself. God calls us to one mission, and that is to be merciful like He is merciful. And then He will show you mercy even greater than just the basic common that we would get. There's no greater teaching to describe this mercy than an alleviating a felt need of suffering, like the parable of the Good Samaritan. I'm going to read the parable real quick. It's a big chunk, but I'm not going to paraphrase because the words are very specific here, and then we'll hit this here. Are you all with me today? Okay, I'm believing God's speaking today. He's got a good message. I'm going to take some of your guys' like silence and as like I'm thinking about it, and but if something rings true for you, give me an amen so I feel less insecure. Okay. Luke 10, especially if it's the Bible, verse 25 is where we're going to start. One day, an expert in religious law, think pastor, or theologian, someone who knows this front to back, has it memorized, stood up to test Jesus by asking him this question: Teacher, what should I do to inherit eternal life? How do I make sure I get to heaven? Jesus replied, what does the law of Moses say? How do you read it? The man answered, you must love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, all your strength. This is coming right out of the book of Deuteronomy. and all your mind, and love your neighbor as yourself. Right, Jesus told him. Do this and you will live. I imagine Jesus says this. He goes, right, do this and you will live, and starts walking away. And then he goes, but, right? Are you sure, Jesus? The man wanted to justify his actions, so he asked Jesus, who is my neighbor? Jesus replied with a story. A Jewish man was traveling from Jerusalem down to Jericho, and he was attacked by bandits. They stripped him of his clothes, beat him up, and left him half dead beside the road. And by chance, by circumstance, who knew this would happen? A priest came along. Thank God. He is good. He brought a priest to help his own people. But when he saw the man lying there, he crossed to the other side of the road and passed him by. Okay, we get it. Again, the priest might have been having a bad day or had someone he needed to get to really quickly. But God never leaves us. He'll send another person, right? A temple assistant walked over and looked at him lying there, but he also passed by on the other side. Then a despised Samaritan. This is a group of people that lived near Jerusalem, and they were enemies mainly because of the way they lived their life was in such opposition to what the Jewish people were living at this time. A despised Samaritan came along, and when he saw the man, he felt compassion for him. Going over him, the Samaritan soothed his wounds with olive oil and wine and bandaged them. Then he put the man on his own donkey and took him to an inn where he took care of him. The next day, he handed the innkeeper 2 silver coins. This would be like half a year's salary right here. Think of it this way. Telling him, take care of this man. If his bill runs higher than this, I'll pay you the next time I'm here. Doesn't ask, doesn't put restrictions on what the bill is going to accrue. Just says, I will cover. Take care of this man. Now, Jesus says, which of these 3 would you say was a neighbor to the man who was attacked by bandits? The religious leader, the expert, says, the one who showed him mercy. And Jesus said, yes, now go, mercy in action. Go and do the same. We must not forget that Jesus is answering a question of what must I do to get to heaven? This is his response. Not how many times did you pray? Not did you get baptized? Not did you speak in tongues or heal people or any of these other things? Not did you vote for the right person, act the right way? Were you a good son, daughter, husband, wife, sister, brother? None of those things. He says, do you love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, and all your mind? And do you love your neighbor as yourself? And tells this story. It appears that Jesus sees the care of suffering people in this world as the most necessary and immediate need of this world. So much so that he stakes your eternity on the ability to put mercy into action. Listen, I'm not asking you to be best friends with your enemy. That's not what we get out of this story. What we get is, will you provide mercy to your enemy? Not just withholding punishment and not just kindness of whatever version of that could be, but would you serve them without the limitations of what you would get from them? This is contradictory to our entire world. Like our entire system. Again, why the gray area exists. But this is what it's supposed to be. And if we lived this way, the gray area would disappear. We've talked about this before, but the way that we actually wish, our hope and desire for a place like Dwell that then would expand to your friends and family and build God's kingdom naturally, not forcefully, is that if I'm worrying about you, Natalie, and you're worrying about me, I don't need to worry about myself because she's going to cover all my needs and I'm going to cover hers. So I don't have to be anxious about where I'm going to lose or how I'm going to win. I only win if she lets me win. Same way, back and forth. Now we're talking about Mercy in action. Are you guys following with me right here? This is the charge more than anything else. We'll get to some of these bigger things, but this right here, God confronts the complacency of his people who protect themselves from the needs of others. And Jesus shows us that the neighbor we must show mercy to is anyone and everyone in need, even an enemy. So to leave here today, because I sometimes I like just kind of like throwing stuff out, I want to give you guys some practicals, right? Is that going to help? Will that be good? Okay. Here's some practicals, 3 ways, really quickly, to put mercy into action, modeled after our story of the Good Samaritan. What can we learn that Jesus is saying? He's a master communicator, by the way. So I don't know if you've ever heard Jesus described that way. He wasn't just a good guy, okay? The dude was a genius. Like, people that aren't even Christians study the way that he preaches, like, because it's so like purposeful and hidden and detailed and all this stuff. So let's uncover some of these master communicator details out of this. Here's the first thing that you can do as a ministry of action, of mercy of action, is presence. We just already hit on that earlier. If you have someone in your world that is going through a dark and hurtful time, let me tell you, the easiest thing you can do is be present. That's 100%. This has been the conversation all week between you and I keep coming back to you because this has been like, we've been talking about this very specifically just this last week. Man, by yourself in silent is the opposite of what God wants. Now, our free will and the choices of others around us and ourselves means that we cannot control the bad things that happen in life. What we can control is, will you do it alone? And some of that's on you, and some of that's on the community you choose who is going to be there. And so our job, not the person going through pain, our job is to be present. When I hear that something is going on, if you're in the hospital, tell me. And Natalie and I will be there. We will pray with you. We will sit with you. We'll help answer questions for people who don't understand what's going on right now. If there's a deep and hurtful time, something that was unexpected, tell me. And if I can't be there, I will tell someone else so that they can be there. Your presence, we say it here at church, your presence makes an impact. And we believe life is best done together. These are not accidental, catchy little phrases. We say them that way so that it's easy to memorize or remember, even just the idea of it. But the fact that you're here is doing something. Really quickly, can I take my pastor hat off and put my I'm on the grace path too hat? I'll tell you, one of my biggest struggles to go through this mercy path, and it's presence. It's 100% presence. And it's because of honestly, the businesses we've tried to start, being pastors now for, we're coming on 13 years of being pastors. I'm feeling old every day now as things start to hurt and memories are starting to become more distant. One of the things I struggle with the most is giving mercy to people who have the ability to be present but don't. And I mean that in the dark times, but also when you find something that benefits your life and you're not present when you can be present. I'm opening up right here. This is the conversations I want us to have at our life groups, by the way, is I don't get why you chose yourself over this. That's me being vulnerable, because I grew up in church my entire life. Whether I wanted to be, I was going to be at church. And whether I wanted to be, people were going to be over. My parents are pastors. I saw people all the time, and I know that that's not default, and I know that it's a challenge because maybe you didn't grow up learning that your presence makes an impact. But when you can be present and you don't, you're denying yourself as much as you're denying me. And it's not like you're rejecting me. It's that we don't get to do this. I don't get to pray with you when you don't tell me. And I don't get to be with you if you don't show up. All right, pastor hat back on. I'm on this journey. I'm learning that I got to give mercy to journeys, including my own. That we're gonna go through this path. By the way, this is okay. I already said I was gonna get off on this topic. If everybody who shows up to dwell within a month's time all showed up on one day, we recently just did a recount of this. Just in this room, not our kids, we would have 65 people. It's just everybody showed up on one day. And I, because then you would invite friends. I think it would be very quickly, and we would have to have new problems. The problem wouldn't be presence. The problem would probably be something that's coming up next. Never doubt the power of your presence. Never doubt the power of your presence. The next action of mercy that we can all do is protection. Our example in this is that the Samaritan man, soothed the suffering man's wounds. Not just simply had mercy and leniency on him. He put it into action. I'm going to put lenient on you. It's not just I'm not just doing it myself. I'm physically going to protect you. Your open wounds are now covered, even to my enemy. Psalms 32, I love this about God removing dangers and coming to these safe places. David writes this in Psalms. He says, "For you are my hiding place. You protect me from trouble. You surround me with songs of victory." We keep coming back to this. This name dwell is really important. That the hiding places, the places where he keeps you safe, where he protects you. In the call of his church, Jesus establishing a new idea of what church is how big can we make this covering? Can we make it earth-sized? That everywhere you would walk, you would feel safe. Physically, emotionally, spiritually. You would walk into any room and know that you're not judged. It doesn't mean you don't have things to work on. It just means you're filled with a room of people also working on something and desiring to change each other as well and move through that. In Luke's gospel, we read another moment with a man on the road of Jericho asking for some sort of protection, some sort of presence of Jesus. Luke 18, verse 35, it says, as Jesus approached Jericho, this is similar to the story here, a blind beggar was sitting beside the road. And when he heard the noise of a crowd going past, he asked what was happening. They told him that Jesus, the Nazarene from Nazareth, was going by. So he began shouting, "Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me. No one's going to cry out for me." "Be quiet," the people in front yelled at him. But he only shouted louder, "Son of David, have mercy on me." When Jesus heard him, he stopped and ordered that the man be brought to him. And as the man came near, Jesus asked him, which is some of the silliest questions that Jesus says, "What do you want me to do for you?" This man's blind. Very clear, he's blind. And Jesus, the healer, goes, "What do you want me to do?" "Lord," he said, "I want to see." And Jesus said, "All right. Receive your sight. Your faith has healed you." What Jesus gives is protection in a suffering world that is crying out for it. But before the church can answer, because we've allowed it to be this way, the world has already responded. We're crying out for attention, right? And instead of the church coming alongside and saying, "Hey, I see you. I'm here. What gifts do you have? I want to see them. I want to be there for recitals. I want to be there for art shows. I want to be there when you get that award, when you get, employee of the month. I want to be there for you. I want to give you the attention maybe you weren't given. And if you were given it, I want to continue it." That is what we were supposed to do. Instead, we've now had to look for outside resources. And they feel much better in the immediate because a like on your profile feels a lot better than a good job from a friend. But that good job means so much more. It just doesn't validate it to the rest of the world, only to ourselves. So what God is saying is, look to the people who are in the shadows and crying out and protect them. Protect them from what you would do to yourself even. What you are learning to change, you are called to give that to someone else. People who are not in these hiding places, caught in darkness, not in sanctuary. Dwell, I'm urging us to be that place. Back in medieval times, there was a thing you could do if you were a criminal, if you were a criminal and you were able to make it to a church temple, you guys know where I'm going with this? You could cry out for sanctuary. And the law stated that if the church opened their doors and brought you in, they couldn't arrest you, no matter what you did. Isn't that crazy? We're so far away from that now, right? It's 2 weeks. If you're, no, you're good, yeah. So if you committed a crime in medieval times, if you could make it to a church and bang on its doors and cry out with the word sanctuary, and the doors opened before the officers could get you, for 2 weeks, you were housed, protected, and fed. And if in that time the church worked to either figure out, do you need to pay for your consequences, or for those who are about to be unjustly served, can we get you to a safe place? That's what we're supposed to do. Provide sanctuary. Worship team, will you come forward? We'll wrap it up right here. The last action of mercy and the most difficult, provision. Resources, money, time, talents. This is what God has given you. This is what you've learned. This is what you've developed. This is what you curated in your life. We got hairstylists. We got accountants. We got marketing experts. We got daycare workers. We got moms. We got dads. We got the range in here. God has given you talents and you've developed them into skills. And he says, give it away. I gave it to you for a reason. I gave it to you not just to bless your life. In fact, I will bless your life because of your consistency of using the talents I've given you. But I'm going to give you so much that you're going to think it's because you're rich, but it's because I'm rich. It's because I'm flowing things through you, not to you. This is what we're called to do, this last action. So the first action was presence, the second is protection, and our last action is modeled in the story of the Good Samaritan. Provision means that you are providing for a need that suffering people cannot meet on their own. The injured man on the road to Jericho could not help himself. And in the same way, the blind man on the streets of Jericho could not help himself either. In both instances, someone who had a solution provided one. Someone who had a resource provided it. Someone who was not prepared to give that resource did it. And gave more. Above and beyond what they even asked for. This man on the side of the road just needed his bandages. Just needed to be taken to a place. Just needed to be thrown in a hospital, put on the corner. Instead, he takes them to a safe place and pays and covers it. Who knows if the Jewish man could have provided for himself, but he didn't need to. That's the example we're given. And the question I want us to ask and the lesson that I want us to learn is, it's not who asks for help, but are we ready to help? We all have things we can do to help those in need. And I'm not just talking about money, but resources as well. And there have been many times in our life that Natalie and I, we couldn't give $1. Not even $1. We were negative dollars. So to give $1 was impossible. Those times we weren't able to tithe. It was difficult. They were small seasons because we felt empowered to go, no, we don't stay here. We get out of this. What work do we need to do? And not just so we can tithe, but so we can take care of things around us. God, what did we block in our life that stopped the flow of resources coming in? That was the question that we were asking. But in that process, I couldn't give $1, but I could give you a plate of food. And so we had people in our lives that they have needed, just like us, financial resources. And it wasn't that I couldn't ask for them or any of that. It was, you can't even have a plate of food. So here's what we're going to do. I don't have enough for extra food, but I can take some off my plate. And so there was times where Natalie and I had half a plate of food so someone else could have a full plate. It was difficult because we were hungry, both physically, mentally, spiritually hungry. But I know so many times that somebody put mercy into action for me. And I refuse to be the stopgap of God's resources flowing to the rest of the world, even if it means that for a time I will be hungry myself. And that's not look at Natalie and Eric. That's let's do this. Friar Chris Alar, in his book Understanding Divine Mercy, says that mercy is love that seeks to relieve the misery of others. Mercy is much easier to give when we realize that we are all on the Jericho road. We're all beaten on the side of the road. We're all blind beggars who are just looking for mercy from anyone. And at any moment, maybe not right now, I could be beaten, bruised, bullied, and blinded. Who will help me? Me. Right now. Don't think about anyone else. Just think about your pastor right here. Think about Eric. Who will help me? I promise you, Natalie and I, each and every week, we are asking ourselves. We're asking the leaders that meet with us twice monthly. We're asking at our life group leaders who bring people into their homes every week. Who can we help? Who can we serve? How are we going to do this? Those who showed mercy. My prayer today is that anyone who resides in these walls or comes into contact with us will never have to question where actions of peace, presence, protection, and provision come from, because they flow through us from God. Would you guys stand with me? We're going to wrap up today.